Okay. Yeah. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. This is Funny, and today we are going to discuss about the ins and outs about Vault and how do we use it in like real life applications and what are the exact uses and how to use it in Spring Boot basically. So we'll be discussing with the Spring, but it is more or like same with the other applications as well. So some of you might be from the .NET background, so it would be like more or less the same. So yeah. So before going into the details, like how many of you have used Vault previously here?
Yes, no, maybe.
Okay,
Hello.
yeah. So I see a few of the raised hands. Okay.
Yes.
So for the rest of the people who haven't used Vault, so basically you do have some development work going on with your applications, right? So let's take one example. Like whenever we are trying to connect to a database, okay, we store that connection strings or what are other information, sensitive information like the passwords and the usernames in the direct configuration files in your app, right? So or some other place where it is commonly residing, right? So do you agree on that? Like whenever we're trying to use some sensitive information, for example, let us take to connect to DB, we directly store that information in some plain text, okay, that is residing in the application level itself, or maybe it could be in a different project but it is still in the GitHub or some version control tool out, right? So we are not actually storing it in a secured manner, so people who have access to that to the application might be able to see those credentials or some encryption decryption keys, or whatever it might be, right? So now what happens is this, like this allows attackers like who has, it can be internal or external, like we can once we have access to all such sensitive information we can easily misuse that, or if our application got compromised, they'll have access to all that sensitive information. Agree on this? So we should be better dealing with these kind of sensitive information, right? So this is where a vault comes into picture. So Vault is like a centralized place where we can store all this information. Okay, you name it, like all the credentials or some keys and encryption, decryption keys or certificates in a central place, and then control it like to a specific user based on access policies. Okay, so now what will happen is like, so whoever has access to the application or code database, they can't see that actual information what is being stored in the vault, so that can be accessed by the personnel who have access to those secrets. Okay, this way what we can do is like, okay, decentralize, I mean we can go from the decentralized manner of storing all the sensitive information to a centralized manner, and that too in a secured way. Okay, so that not everyone will have access to these information. So this is basic use case, one of the use case of Vault. Okay, other than this there are like two three more uses, like we'll get into those in the latter part of this session. But initially Vault is used to store all the secured information in a central manner. So whenever you have any change in that key, okay, you don't need to go to all the places like beforehand we used to save in our code like in multiple places or some in configs like which are spread across multiple places. Now if there is any change, we need to make change in all the places, which is like a cumbersome activity. Okay, now since this is all in one place, we just directly update in that single place and that's it. Okay, and also this is access controlled. Okay, so now from where we can use Vault, like as I said earlier, like from the multiple applications, you name it, like GCS, okay, from AWS, so all these providers accept Vault, and from all these places, like we can use and integrate Vault. Like in your Java applications or .NET applications, you can use it, and then you can just deploy it in the cloud services like Google Cloud Services or AWS. Okay, so let me present some slides. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so do you see my screen?
Yes, Vinny.
Okay. So anybody has any questions till this point? Like you all clear with why we should use Vault, or I mean, what are the main use cases of that?
So put it in a simple way, we are just centralizing the configurations, right?
Yeah. I mean, in addition to centralizing that, we also having some additional security measures. Like beforehand, like say, suppose you are saving it in the application code itself, like say 10 or 20 developers will have access to that code base, right? So everyone can see the credentials. But now, since it is in the vault, not all who are having access to code will be able to see this sensitive information. Only specific individuals who are authorized to use this, like they'll have separate logins to this vault, or someone
Yes.
having this access token, only they
Yeah.
will be able to see this information. Okay. And also,
Yes.
like vault also, like uses logging mechanism. So whenever anyone logs in and views any particular information, it keeps track of this all the logs. So whenever like you or I logs into vault and checks for the information, it logs that entry. Okay. So whenever, like, if there is any malicious activity happen, we can just go to the log and see who all have access that information, and then dig through that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that won't be a case if we save this information in direct code or somewhere in the config files. We don't have this log also, right? So that is another advantage of having information stored in this vault. No.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, so this is the introduction to Vault. Why you should be using this. Okay, and now let's go to like a small I mean demo. How we can use it live. Okay, first we need to since this is development environment, like we can download that Vault. Okay, and we can run it in our local. Okay, we can download it from its official website. Okay, so you can just choose your operating system and then download it. Okay, it will give us a exe file, .exe file. We can just run it from command line and follow a few instructions so that we can initially play with the vault, understand how it is working, and like get an idea so that we can later deploy it in the actual servers and integrate it with our code. Okay. So for now, today we'll just run it in our local machines and try it with the simple applications to read one of the secrets. Okay. We can configure one secret and then read it from our application in local. So this is not hosted anywhere since it is the local environment. Okay. So once we download it, we'll be getting a .exe file like this. Okay. Vault.exe. Just go to this path and open the command prompt. Okay. Now all we need to do is some simple commands which then start the Vault server. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, this is a dev environment. Like we need to start the server in dev mode. Okay. So Vault server dev. Okay. So it will start the vault server. Okay. And it gives that address where this vault is running. Okay. 127.0.0.1.820.8200 port. Okay. Since this is localhost, it is running in 127 localhost. Okay. And it also gives this root token using which we can access the vault. Okay. And this vault is also an user interface in where we can log in and see all the secrets and the paths, everything. Okay. So now let's try to log into this address and see how it looks like. Okay, there are multiple methods using which we can log in. Okay, we'll discuss a few of these in this session. Now let's, since this token is generated, use this take this token and use it to log in. Okay, so you'll be presented with this screen once you log in. Okay, all the secrets which we need to save should be part of this secret engine. Okay, a V2 secret engine. So go inside that. Okay, and now here we can create some secrets. We can give some path and then key value pairs. So basically, if we are using any DB credentials, we can name it as DB username and then username. Okay, DB password then DB password. Or if it is any keys, encryption keys or such, then like key value pairs. You can name it whatever you like. Okay, and we can have multiple paths. Okay, we can have DB credentials under one path, then encryption keys under one path, like so on. Okay, so it is completely customizable. Okay, so we can store all our secret information, sensitive information inside the vault, and all this is encrypted and saved. Like even though we give it in the plain text, okay, the vault encrypts it again and then stores it in the vault storage. Since it is now local, this information is stored in our machines. Okay, but if we actually deploy this into a server, it uses the vault default store as console. Okay, we can also change the target database, but it generally recommended to use the vault's default console. Okay, and there it is encrypted. It is not stored as like plain text how we give it. Okay, so say suppose you are saving the value ABC, it is not directly saved there. It is again encrypted and then saved. Like this is again a client server type of model. Okay, when we give a request to the vault server, it again calls the database where it has stored that information, and only vault server can decrypt it, so that if any other application has, even though if any other applications have access to that vault's DB, okay, where it stores the information, they cannot, I mean, decrypt the value because they don't have those keys using which vault has encrypted those. So it only should go through the vault server. Okay, that is how we can get that information back. This is another layer which Vault uses to secure our data. Okay, so since we have seen this interface, like we can run few more commands and then create our secrets, or we can directly use this UI to user interface to create our secrets, key value pairs. So let us just insert a simple values per class, like topic equals Vault. Okay. So I'm giving the path as skipper class and then just the key as topic and value as vault. Okay. So now I'll save it. Okay. So you can see this. So it is saved under skipper class. Okay. And then the JSON. So now we can also see this using the command line. Okay. So since the server is running, we can leave this command open and open a new command window. And then before using any commands, we should set that vault address. Okay. To make use of that vault address. For that, use this command, set vault address, and the value is where it is running. Okay. Once it is done, actually, we can check the vault status as well. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. So see, so this is the status. Okay. You can see that it is running here. Okay. So now we can use some basic commands and then we can view data, we can add data, we can delete data. Okay. And we'll go through some few of the commands which we can use here. Okay. So we can use create instead of using that user interface which we are seeing before, we can also create a secret using this command vault kv. Kv is nothing but key value. Okay. Put mount, since this is a secret, we are mounting it to the secret, and we should give the path, the key, and the value. Okay. We can also give multiple at once. Okay. So vault kv put mount secret path key value space key value space key value. Okay. And all these will be version like now if you see here. Okay, it is v1. Okay, version 1. And if we add a new value again, it won't override in the v1. Okay, it will instead create a new version and keeps the data in v all data in v1 itself. Okay, we'll see here. Okay, create new version topic, it is already present there. Okay, and now month March. Okay, save. You see here, it is version 2. And if we go to version 1, the old data is still there. So versioning also happens. And from the applications, when we try to read any values, it by default goes to the most recent version. Okay. So now the highest version is version 2. And if we read from code, that will automatically point to the V2. If there is a newer version, it will point to that. Okay. So every time it will take the latest version if you're trying to read it, or you can just specify the specific version where you want the data from. Okay. That will, so we can see now. Okay, so read a secret. We'll try reading this from the command line. And our path is skipper class. Okay. See, since I haven't specified any version, it took the values from version 2. Okay, it by defaults to the latest version. Okay, and if you need any specific version, we can specify that like this: vault kv get mount secret version, that version number, and then the path. Okay, we can try that as well. Version equal to 1. You see, there is only one key value in the version 1, and it is only written here, and the version also is specified in the metadata version 1. In the above query, since we haven't mentioned any version, it defaulted to the latest version, version 2, and gave us two different key value sets. Okay, so this is how we can use the get commands. Okay, and similarly, like if we want to delete it, like there is a delete command as well. Okay, so since we have configured our, since we have already inserted this key value pairs, let us run a small Spring Boot application from where we can read these values. Okay. Further, just take any sample application, then you can define a class with that particular name. In the value, you need to specify the name, variable name, which you used in the vault. Okay. So since we are using topic there, you just need to specify that particular name is here. Okay, in the annotation value. After that, you need to have this vault configuration in a bootstrap, or you can have it in the application. If you are having it in the bootstrap, we need to have another dependency, which I'll be telling you now. So the advantage of having, Spring for the latest versions is not supporting Bootstrap anymore. So everything should be part of application.yaml or application.properties. But why we prefer having Bootstrap, Vault in Bootstrap is that we can separate this configuration from the application.yaml, because all other properties of the particular API or repository will be stored in the application YAML, and we can just separate Vault from that cluster. Okay, and if you are actually using Bootstrap YAML, you need one more dependency, since Spring has stopped support, direct support in the Bootstrap in the recent versions. Okay, you just need to add one dependency, that is like uh, Cloud Starter Bootstrap. And to be able to use Vault, you need this dependency, Spring Cloud Starter Vault config. Okay. So in this application, I have already included those as well. Okay. So see, here we are using Spring Cloud Starter and then Bootstrap. Okay. Starter Bootstrap. So that way, our Spring, even though it is of latest versions, it will just read the Bootstrap YAML configs as well. Okay. Here we can specify the authentication type which we are using. Since I am using token to login, I specified it as token, the URI where it is running, and the actual token, and this is key value. Okay, enable true, and the path where this secret should be read from. Okay, skipper class. So if I change this to some random value and try to run this application, it will throw an error and show what are the acceptable values for that. Okay, so let's see that. Yeah, see, I have given some random value in the authentication, so it threw an error and shows what are the supported values. So these are some of the authentication methods using which we can access Vault, and token is one of them. See in the last. In the actually Equifax systems, we'll be using GCP IAM role, so that there'll be no token exposed directly, and we can configure role-based access over there. Like there will be some in the Equifax systems in the projects, there are some predefined IAM user accounts configured, and there will be given some permissions. We can map those roles to that particular, whenever we are creating secrets and mounting them to paths. Okay, we'll create a role for that particular thing and then map those IAM accounts to that particular role. That way, when we are trying to access these secrets from the application, those get accessed from the application itself. Okay, so we don't expose the token here in the dev environment. In the local, for the local debugging purposes, we will be using tokens, but in the actual deployment environments like dev, QA, UAT, and production, we won't use the token method. Okay, and if it is an AWS server, like you can have in the EC2 instances like AWS EC2, or in the IAM roles in AWS. Okay, so these are some other methods like using which you can access Vault secrets in your applications. Okay, so now let us correct this token, and okay, and try to run this. Okay, and now in the Vault application, I'm just directly accessing those values. Okay, configuration.get. Configuration is nothing but my class where I have defined. Okay, so this direct, you don't need any custom code. Like whenever you are introducing that including that dependency, Vault dependency, it'll automatically connect to Vault, and based on this configuration, it fetches those values. Okay, so this is the only code you need. Okay, so now let's run this application and see. Okay, I'm printing it in the console. Let's see. Okay. Oh, something happened. Okay, the token I'm using is an older one. Excuse me. Okay, I'll get back to this on the later part of the session. We can now see how we can actually define some access controls to this. Okay. So since we are logging in using the token, everything is accessible. Like the token default root token will have the master access to everything. Okay. So now in order to restrict the access, okay, if you are giving some logins to the developers in the application, or some okay, we can actually restrict them using some roles. Okay, we can specify some policies and then restrict the usage of this vault secrets inside this vault. Okay, so now for that, what we need to do is like first get into the access, go to the access tab. Okay. Okay, I think so. Vault stopped or what? Okay. Vault is stopped. That's why it's throwing an error.
You added that token with space funny, I guess.
Okay,
Just
thank you.
reach. Yeah.
No, looks like there is still some error. I'll check this and get back to you. Meanwhile, we can see how we can control access. Okay. So first we need to get into access and okay. So there is one authentication methods now, which is token, using which we are logging in. Okay. Now we can enable a new method. Say for so these are all the supported methods. Okay. So if we are using any I am Google Cloud, if it is deployed in Google Cloud, we can use Google Cloud authentication method. Okay, or if it is AWS, we can use AWS. So that okay. Now for now we will be using a username and password. Okay, right. So the path is user pass. So enable method done. Okay. So now in the access, if you see, in the auth methods, we now have both token and user pass. Okay. Now we can create policies. Okay. So these policies, we can have multiple policies and then map each policy to to a set of users. By that we so once we bind those users with these policies, they'll be only having that controls which we have specified inside the policies. Okay. So for that I'll be using creating two different policies, one read only policy and then one read and write policy. Okay. So first we can create read only policy. You can give name here. Okay. And then the policy goes as this. So inside the master, we can have this list capability, and inside this skipper class, which we created now, for this, since this is only read only, I'm giving only read permission. Okay. Read capability. Okay. The path should go as secret data skipper class. Okay. We can create this policy. So this is a read only, and another new policy can be read write policy. Okay. And here inside the policies, I'm specifying create as well. Okay. Now we have successfully created policies. Inside this, we can now see read only and read write policy. Okay. So now what we need to do is create users and then assign these policies to those users. For that, we need to go inside entities, create entity. Name can be anything. Okay. Read role, or I can just specify a name, John. And the policy is read only policy. Okay. Create. Inside the aliases, create an alias for this, John. And here you can specify the authorization type, which by using which this John can log in. Okay. Since we are trying to use username and password, I'm selecting user pass. Okay. Create. And a different entity with read write access. Okay. I'll be creating a different entity with read write access. Okay. We can name the test Smith policies, read write policy. Okay. Create. And inside aliases, add alias Smith, and the auth backend is user pass. Okay. Now this user interface doesn't allow us to set the password. Since we have already defined the entities and aliases, we need to give a password to these entities for both John and Smith. That we can do using the command line. Okay. And that for that also we have a command like vault write auth user pass users and the username which we have specified there and the password which we'll be assigning to that. Okay. So now let's assign passwords to both of these entities. Okay. It shows success data returned to auth user pass users John. Okay. And now to the other one. Vault. Okay. Now, so John should only be able to view those. He should not have access to write data or delete data. And Smith should be able to create new secrets. Okay. And since we haven't specified delete, he also shouldn't have delete operation. Okay. Since now we have using token, which has all the master access, we can see all the operations, delete, write, read, everything for the token. Let me relog in. Looks like there is some issue with this skipper class. Topic vault. Okay. Since this is root token, I'm able to read, write everything. Okay. And even delete it. Okay. Now let's sign out and sign in using one of those users which we created. Change that method to username John, and then the password. Sign in. Okay. Skipper class. See, you're not seeing that option to create new version here. But before the using the token, we were able to see that. But since I have given the read permission, this particular role will be able to read this value, view this value. Go a step back and click on this click secret. Since there is no write permission, this should throw an error, right? We'll see that. Skip some key value. Save. Permission denied because we haven't given the right permission to this particular role user. Okay, John. So now let's log out and then log in using the other user, which is Smith. Okay. Set the secret. Skipper class. There you go. Vault. Okay. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, create is there. We should actually see that right here. Like we should be able to write here because we have given that. Let me stop and run this again. It's not right. Since this is all in memory, whenever we stop that server and rerun, I mean run for a new instance, everything gets cleared. But in the actual servers, it won't be the case because it will be stored in the actual database, not within the in memory. Okay. Uh, for some reason, it is not coming here. I'll check this as well. I was able to see this morning, but not now. I'll ping in our group chat how it is resolved. Okay, I'll check this and let you know. Yeah, see the application is now running and this value is printed. Topic is vault. Okay. Also, we can just like any endpoint and then hit it to get these values. We can use these values wherever we want inside the application. For example, I have also written a test controller. Okay. And to return this particular value. Okay. If we hit that, we'll be getting that value from vault, whatever we have stored in that vault. Okay. So this is how we can integrate it with our applications. Okay. So for the Spring applications, we basically need two. One is like Vault Starter, and then if we are using these configurations inside the Bootstrap, we'll just need Bootstrap Starter as well. And if it is directly inside the application of YAML, we don't need that additional Bootstrap thing. Okay, it by default uses that configuration and goes to that vault and fetches that information. I mean, don't need any additional code for that. And in the actual development environment, we'll not have these username passwords. Instead, we'll be having some IAM accounts or the other methods. Okay. So using which we can fetch these details. And there is a concept called dynamic secrets. Like we can also specify the time they need to live there. Like for example, if we specify 1 day, that will automatically expire after that specified time, and then create revoke the token, and then create a new one for the users next time. Okay, it only I mean invokes a new one when there is a request. Okay, so that is also one of the things Vault support. And apart from these, like we can also use Vault for encryption and decryption purposes. There are some APIs available in Vault using which we can encrypt our data. Not, I mean, that doesn't require us storing any information like this key value pairs. Like we can actually encrypt or decrypt whatever things we need. Say, suppose you have a text that needs to be encrypted and saved into our database instead of Vault saving it, then we can use the Vault's capability to encrypt that. Okay, and then later decrypt it whenever needed or wherever needed. Okay, so these are the basic things Vault provides. One is like having this information saved inside it, and then dynamic rotation of secrets. And then the third one is like it also has some APIs which enables us to encrypt and decrypt, such that we don't need to again implement all that logic in our code. Yeah. Any questions, anyone? So this role access, I'll get back to you. I think I'm missing something. But this is how we can configure multiple roles based on the policies and assign users to that, so that they'll have only limited access. Yeah. Any questions?
Anyone? Shwant,
We are good, Sunny.
Anu,
Okay.
Tarun? I think they don't have any questions to
Okay.
ask.
I mean, did everyone understand, or do I need to repeat any specific thing? If we want, I can do that.
Yeah, funny. This is Kondal.
Yeah. Hi,
One
Kunal.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, this vault is only for key value pair, or we can store files as well, like certificates and all.
We can store files, but in order to do that, we need to first, I mean, convert them to like some base 64 string or that or such. That's why actually, that's again like huge load on Vault itself. So for simple key value pairs, we can use that. But if we want to encrypt and store these files, we can use that Vault's capability. We can still store that, by for doing that, we need to convert that into a base 64 string or something like that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
So that will again be something like a key value pair again. You can have it the key as a file name and then store that base 64 there.
Mhm. Yeah, I understand. So why we don't use it? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the main use case is like having some encryption, decryption keys, and then credentials, this simple kind of information. But still, we can do other things, but it'll like a memory cost operation. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone?
So I think everyone are good with this presentation
Okay.
session.
Thank you.
Okay. So I would like to thank each and every member of our team who showed interest in this session. Okay. And on behalf of our team, Honey, I'm sorry, I would like to thank you for taking this session, sparing me your valuable time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandhya. It's a good opportunity, like for me as well. Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving this opportunity. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone. Yeah.
Bye.